Hey guys, Anna here. Welcome to today's video and welcome to another speed build. Today we're in the world of San Sequoia and we are building a 4x2 bedroom family home that's in a farmhouse kind of traditional style. I've seen this a lot on Pinterest and I wanted to recreate something. I see a lot of like the more white modern versions of this type of style, and this is definitely white, as you probably saw from the thumbnail. I use white and blues, definitely the whites and the deep kind of navy blue that comes from the Get Together expansion pack. Get together, growing together, growing together. There's so many togethers in The Sims 4. It was bound to be one of them. This is 7 Eucalyptus Way, which is the lot where the Michelson family usually live in San Sequoia. It's in more of the residential neighborhood in San Sequoia. I don't usually build on this lot because it is a 50 by 50. It's quite a big lot, but this was quite a big house. So it was a combination of some things I saw on Pinterest along with the floor plan that I designed on grid paper. So I kind of had an idea of what I wanted, and I think visually from the front, that kind of bay window that creates more interest in the facade of the build was my focal point for this build. And as you can see right here, I'm just going along with all of the wallpaper, trying to map out where I'm going to put tile, where I'm going to put standard wallpaper. I use at this stage the wallpaper from the Basement Treasures kit. I do like this wallpaper. I like it because it has a little bit of texture and warmth to it, as opposed to having a plain white wall. I feel like a beige wall is a little bit more usable. Okay, so we'll move inside shortly, but the main thing that we are doing now is the roofing. The roofing on this build was extremely difficult because even though there were several sections where that it was a basic rectangle, so you can use like the hip roofs and things like that very easily, as you've just seen, I really struggled with these more diagonal sections and these bay sections. And the easiest way that I found to roof these sections was to use diagonal roof pieces, which you'll see me use shortly in these sections, and then just to layer them so that it looks all neat and tidy. I think it turned out okay. I think this being a 1-story build makes it a little bit more challenging. If you had 2 stories, you would, potentially have less roofing and it would look a little bit more structured. But I kind of like the idea of a 1-story house, even though it takes up a lot of the build, and it makes floor plans a little bit harder because spacing becomes next to impossible, because it's so easy to make some rooms bigger than they should be. And I think I experienced that a little bit in this build, but overall I think that the rooms are properly spaced. There is kind of a central hallway that you go through the entire house, which is a little bit spacious, but you kind of need it because with it being 1 story, logically there has to be a way for the Sims to get from, the right side of the build to the left. Okay, so as I said, this is a 4x2 bedroom house. It has got loads of amenities. You have a laundry, it's got a gym, it's got a pool, there's a tree house, there's tons of skill building, there's room for pets. And yeah, I didn't want to do anything that was remotely modern at all. So the way that I have furnished this build is very rustic, and you'll see that when we move more into the interior decorating. But for now, we are still outside and we are finalizing the exterior of the build. So the main wallpaper is a beautiful white sliding, and we've paired that with the growing together doors and windows. And more specifically, those doors and windows have that navy blue swatch, and it's so nice. We also paired it with the Seasons windows. I believe the ones from Seasons have just like a black trim as opposed to the navy blue, which I think the growing together ones do, like that main focal window. But I think that that's okay. And these big chunky plain white columns that come from base game, these were part of an update many moons ago, just make like, I really like this build. It really has an elegance around it, but also still having that kind of farmhouse vibe. And it was at this point where I really fell in love with this build. I had a lot of extra room at the front of the build, so I decided to put in a carport, which I think is a little bit realistic. This is where I think we put some of the gym equipment in. So it's not necessarily like a gym. It's just got some equipment in, you know, the kind of carport area. And yeah, we will then, I think, be moving into the landscaping. Or maybe I'm just like kind of mapping out what I'm doing. So I think I think I do stick with this paving. So this paving comes from the Desert Luxe kit, and it's just a plain large paver. And I really like this. I think that it's really plain and that it's very good for a build where you just want something basic but not the standard concrete swatch that we have in the base game. And all around it was a solid kit. I remember when it was free, it was such a good time. Nowadays you have to pay for it, but it was free for a portion of time. And hopefully most of you guys picked it up when it was free because it was such a good addition. I remember they were like my favorite curtains for the longest time. All right, because this build looks very kind of put together and elegant, I wanted to do more of a manicured landscaping. So I have put in some kind of fencing to kind of section out where I want my garden beds to go. I did have that interesting square part, but it was big enough to fit a tree. So I decided to kind of make it like a faux, garden bed and put in a tree. We put in a massive pool in this build just because we had the room for it. As I said, this backyard was massive. And there were a couple of things that we got with the Growing Together expansion pack. Obviously the treehouse item, which we do use. Also bikes. I think I put some bikes around the place. I didn't put in a splash pad because obviously we've got a pool. But there are I think it's one of the aspirations, the children aspirations. They do want you to use the splash pad. So it'd be interesting to know if anyone actually uses those child aspirations. I use them because I just think that they're better than the base game. But yeah, let me know in the comment section down below, do you play with those children aspirations or the teen aspirations that came from high school years and things like that? I do. I think it's a good addition to the game. All right, so we are now moving into the landscaping. And we start with the trees. I've obviously sectioned everything off, and I wanted to keep it very basic so that it didn't pull away from the actual home itself. I wanted the landscaping to be complementary to the white exterior. And yeah, so that's basically what I've done there. Looks like I will be heading back out there eventually. We are now moving inside to start the formal decorating. I have been doing this thing where when I go to decorate, I start from the entry and kind of work my way around. And I think that's how I decorated this particular build. We are starting in this kind of entrance foyer kind of area. This was one of the areas in the home where I felt that it was extremely spacious, probably a little bit too much space. So I kind of created these little zones where you've got the central part where you enter, where you've got the entryway and a landing zone, and then you've got like a little seating area. And as you can see, I'm very much leaning into the more rustic furniture. We use a lot of horse ranch, cats and dogs, a little bit of Jungle Adventure. Those chairs there that have the orange cushions, they're from Jungle Adventure. I use just a lot of assets that I wouldn't normally use. I love that dresser piece behind the chair with the orange cushions. That comes from Horse Ranch and it is beautiful. I would normally use it in maybe like a bathroom or a bedroom setting, but I really liked it in that foyer section. All right, we then head to the right-hand side and we have the kitchen. This is that front section which has the bay window and it is a massive room. But in the end, I sectioned it into 3 sections. You have your main kitchen. You then have a laundry room, which is what we've boxed off to the side of the kitchen. And then I end up making a dining space as well. So the dining room is actually also part of this kitchen area, and that fits in where that bay window is. It's a little bit spacious, and looking back at it, I probably could have a dedicated dining room, but I just really like the idea of it. I think I do end up moving the tables, or maybe I've already done that. I did have to move like the counters for the island. The island counter is a bit over. They are from Cottage Living, the kitchen set. And this beautiful dining table is actually part of I think it's the Nature's Calling event when we had Enchanted by Nature come out. And that was one of the tables that you could craft on the woodworking table. And again, it just fit that more rustic vibe. I didn't want anything that kind of was modern or like put together. I really wanted a more rustic kind of lived in look, and that was my goal for this particular build. I ended up changing the floor tiles here in the kitchen. It's still from For Rent. I just went with something that was a little bit more muted. And yeah, I love this hutch. So this comes from Cats and Dogs, and Cats and Dogs was really useful in this build to kind of create, I suppose that's more Hampton's vibe, but to me it looks very kind of elegant but still cozy. I just get that cozy vibe. It just looks very cozy. And yeah, I decided to add in a chimney because that's where the fireplace is going to be, and it just adds a little bit of interest to the back of the build, and I thought it made a little bit of sense. All right, so once you exit out of the kitchen and you go through the main hallway and you head all the way to the far right side of the build, you do get to this very large open living area. And I have to say, this is my favorite part of the entire build. It is a beautiful area. It's very spacious. And again, I have sectioned this. So I've kind of started it out by, where am I going to put the TV? I'm going to put the TV in that center of the bay window, and then I positioned my couches and chairs. So the couches are from Horse Ranch, and the armchairs are actually from the Basement Treasure Kit. I love how worn and used and like lived in they looked. These aren't the ones that have like the scratches and they're not damaged, I guess, like the other swatches are. And I started with that, and then I put in a beautiful pet bed with the patchwork pattern on it in a beautiful purple color. That pulls in more of the pinks and purples that we're using throughout the rest of the build. And then I just put a side buffet table. That one comes from Horse Ranch, and just having some clutter on it. And then over on the other side of the living room, we have the fireplace and more of a skill building area. I did have this. We have more of a skilled area, and we've got a cards table. I think this is super fun. It just adds a little bit more entertainment to the space, and with your Sims, they can all hang out in the one area. And I like how spacious this area is. I haven't over cluttered it. That way your Sims can really route and, walk around freely. But also because we have a infant in this particular household that I'm picturing for this household, we have decorated a nursery and a playroom. It's actually super cute. You'll see that later on in the video. But I feel like you need a lot of space when you have an infant. A lot of the tummy time activities, and even when they learn to walk and stand and things like that, you need a lot of the space to be able to do that. So that's why I think having a big living room works well. I have gone ahead and put some cushions on these recliners. These are just some base game ones. I really like the color of them, and they add a little bit of color to this space. We've used a lot of greens in this space along with a lot of the build. I generally pick a couple of colors and let that be the color scheme for the build. Moving on, we are in the bathroom. So if you follow the hallway out of the living room down the hall and kind of towards, well, the master bedroom is next door to this room. You will have the main bathroom at the lower floor. It's actually quite spacious, this bathroom. I put in a hutch that came from Cats and Dogs. again, I use a lot of cats and dogs in this build because it's adding to that more rustic vibe and the decor style that I was trying to achieve here. I didn't want anything that was super modern, and I really, really tried my best to stay to that stipulation, I guess. But yeah. All right, so that was the bathroom, and we are now moving into the laundry. So I have a laundry in this build purely because I had the space. This was, as you saw, a massive floor plan, and there were a couple of areas that I had to make additional rooms because of the spacing. So the hallways, the main central hallway in this build is quite long, and I felt by putting in the laundry next to the kitchen, it helped with the spacing, because that kitchen area and the hallway space, those were the two areas where spacing was an issue. I've used a ton of clutter in here. I just really think that it's such a cozy space. We used a lot of the kitchen clutter kit. We got that beautiful cleaning caddy. I have one of those in real life. So when that came in The Sims, I was so excited to see that. It's interesting. You'll have to let me know in the comment section down below. Are there items in The Sims that are very similar to things that you have in your house? I would really be interested to know, because I have a lot of things that I see and I'm like, oh my God, I own that. And yeah. All right, we are in the first bedroom. This is like a teen or an adult's room. I love this room. There's something very simplistic about this room. I don't put a ton in it. The bed comes from Cats and Dogs. We use those freestanding horse ranch dresser, which pairs really well with the vanity. So I've been using the vanity mirrors a lot in my builds recently. I think that it's a big chunky item that actually takes up a lot of space. So when I do bedrooms that are really spacious, like this master bedroom, for example, is huge. So I kind of section it so that I can fill the space. All right, speaking of the master bedroom, I went with a bed again from Cats and Dogs. This is a more, I guess, vintage style bed, and it has a beautiful patchwork quilt. I love this. So quilting is something that I grew up with in my childhood. My grandma quilts, and I love seeing items like that in the game. It's very realistic to me, and I feel like this particular build may suit that style. This is very elegant and a timeless home, if I would think that it is a bit dated. But this bed, I reckon, would be really good in a grandma's house. I think I just say that because it reminds me of my grandma. But an old-fashioned 70s home. I'm really inspired to do something like that. I've seen a couple of fellow simmers on YouTube do homes that are quite dated, and I think they look so cool. So maybe I'll add that to my content list. Speaking of future content, if you have any recommendations, please let me know in the comment section down below what you would like to see. I'm in this phase where I kind of open a world and I look at the pre-made lots in that world, and sometimes I get really big pieces of inspiration. I was in Tartosa the other day, and that big towered multi-story estate, I think it's the Thebe estate is what the lot's called. So beautiful. I'm so tempted to recreate a build like that. I can't remember if I've ever done, no, I would have when Businesses and Hobbies came out, a 3-story build. I actually don't normally do them. Usually I do 2 stories and that's it. Most of the time I do a 1-story build like you're seeing here today. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting to build something that's kind of grand and like that. All right, so that is the twins boys room. It's very different style to the rest of the build. There always tends to be that one bedroom that is very different to the rest of the build. And in this build, it was the boys room. Very colorful, lots of orange. Used a lot of swatches in the parenthood beds that I don't normally use, so I'm really happy about that. Okay, this is my massive nursery. It's beautiful. So in the end, I kind of divided this space into 2. So one half you have where the crib and the changing table, and then the other half of the room is more like a playroom. I decided to use this playpen. I never use this. I am trying to remember which pack it came in. I want to say it's Dream Home Decorator, but I'm not sure if that's true. But it's actually amazing for gameplay. I always find that I think it's toddlers. Like you can get the toddler, I think it's the imagination skill, maybe movement. I'm not sure. I think it's definitely imagination skill up so quickly in this tent, but it's huge and I never use it. So it's an item that I wanted to use. That's also another build idea is to do a build that maybe is filled with items that I don't normally use. So yeah, maybe that would be a good idea. I am thinking about building more apartments and maybe apartment buildings. Obviously with the For Rent expansion pack that we got several years ago, we have that ability to do rental lots and things like that. So I am thinking about doing that because though I love my big family homes, I think it would be cool to do like family apartments. But yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. Do you like seeing content on apartments? Do you play with apartments? Is that something you would like to see? We are now back outside to finalize the landscaping. I use a lot of red, purple, whites, and greens. Again, I wanted the white sliding to be the main focal point, and I wanted the landscaping to complement and be contrasting to the white sliding so that it doesn't pull away from the house, because the bright navy blue doors and the spandrels and all of that stuff is the main part of the facade, and it just adds to the appeal. So I've just done some layering. So I've started with some hydrangeas, some daisies, some shrubs. I've used a combination of the debug menu and the normal catalog. And I've gone in with these beautiful shrubs. These come from the debug menu. You can get them in the actual catalog, but this particular shade is in the debug menu. It's a deeper green. It's much nicer. It just, I don't know, fits better. Gone in with some trees and some layloing flowers, and at this point I'm just trying to fill the spaces. These I guess sectioning out these garden beds, it's more of a manicured thrown together look. Manicured but thrown together. All right, we are doing the standard Anna backyard. So we have a like kind of seating area, your grill. I've put in a clothesline because we have a laundry in this particular build. We have the pool. I've added a slide that came with Adventure of Weights. Just love that piece of gameplay. It's really fun, and I love the animations of them like failing and then flopping and belly flopping. It's fun. It's just great. They've put in some garden plots near where the tree house is. Don't worry, it's still functional. Once they like build the tree house, you'll actually have more space in that area, so that's really cool. We are then moving into what is the final area of the build, and that is the carport. I love this little I guess it's got sleeping bags or tents in it from Adventure Awaits, this little holder thing. I think it's so realistic to have that in a garage. I don't actually own, I swear there was like a restoration kit or a garage kit. I don't own that kit, so I always struggle with what to put in garages, and I feel like I include them because it's always an area where I can dump skill building items in it. So we've got the woodworking table. We put in a ton of like fitness equipment in this particular one. Sometimes I even put like the nectar making barrel. I've been known to make this like an art studio. You could do like a band setup, like a musical setup. Although in this, it's just like a hodgepodge room with just a bunch of decorations and things like that. But I still find use of it in gameplay. Okay, we are now going around putting in the final touches, and we are now live in game for the tour. So you enter in to that beautiful entryway that kind of has two areas. It has the entryway and then it has a seating area. We then are heading to the left side, into the first bedroom, which is that adult space, could be a teen's room. And then kind of around the hallway, you would wrap around into the master bedroom. Really cozy in there. And then we are going back down the hallway to the kitchen. So if you went to the right side, you would go to the kitchen, dining, and then you also have the laundry all in the one space. It's very I think there's enough room to route around, but it is a very tight fit. But I love the space. Good use of space. Massive hallway down into the twin boys' room. And at the end of the hall, you have the main downstairs bathroom, which, thinking back, I could have put a door that goes from the playroom into that bathroom. Because there's a toddler potty, I actually think that would work really well for the Sims gameplay. It would be a lot easier to potty train said child. You then walk around to the hall and you have a study nook that goes into the nursery / playroom area. And then through the, at the other end of that hall, you have a bathroom. This is the second bathroom in the home, into this big open living space. This is my favorite part of the entire house. It's just so lovely in here. Through this door, you have the exterior of the build. You have the outside, so you have your tree house, you have your pool. It's very family orientated, which I guess is the goal of this build. It was to be very, family forward, focused kind of build. Large pool, sitting area, you got your hopscotch, and you then have your carport, which has some more skill building items. You got all your gym stuff and a woodworking table. And that is the build today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.